Guys, and welcome on into another pre-recorded edition of Flying High Free MLB Picks. I'm Terry, and I'm ready to break down the Sunday slate. So we'll just jump right into it here. I'm not going to go game by game. I'm just going to go with the games that I like, and then I'll run through the rest of the slate and give reasonings for why I passed on those games. Not a super high volume slate for me on this Sunday, but that's okay. So start with this one here: Minnesota Twins and New York Yankees. Minnesota plus 130 to plus 142. The Yankees minus 146 to minus 168. Sevens, a couple 6.5s available in this one. I was on the over 8.5 in this game, close to getting that over, but unfortunately couldn't get the one more run that I needed. And now I'm going the opposite here. I'm not going to take the full game under, but I'm going to take the first five. It's a 3.5, which you can get for minus 106 at FanDuel or at Pinnacle. If you can get that minus 106 or the minus 110, take it. You have to take minus 118 or minus 120 for the under 3.5. Then it's kind of getting a little pricey, in my opinion. But Lopez against Cole. Lopez 1-0 with a 1.35 ERA. Cole 3-0 with a 1.40 ERA. Minnesota 23rd against righties. The Yankees are 10th. I think Lopez is able to pitch well enough to keep this a lower scoring game. And at the most, I see it being a 2-1 type of game at the end of five. So I like the first five under 3.5 in this one. And I don't take first five under 3.5s very often. Has to be a certain pitching matchup, which we're getting today, or we're getting for Sunday in this matchup. The next game here, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. Tampa Bay minus 111 to minus 120. Toronto minus 105 to plus 102. 8.5s right across the board in this one here. Toronto has won back-to-back games against the Tampa Bay Rays, ending their winning streak. And now Tampa Bay is on a losing streak of 2 games. But the big news here in getting those 2 wins is that Jose Barrios and Yusei Kikuchi were able to shut down this Tampa Bay offense, which has steamrolled every other opponent they've faced so far this year. I think that's a mixture of Toronto being a very good team, a very good hitting team, um, but also this Tampa Bay team had a very easy schedule. And against bad teams, they're going to beat up against them. But against good teams like Toronto, Toronto outplayed Tampa Bay in both games. And now we have a pitching matchup of McClanahan against Alek Manoah. And yeah, based on what we've seen from this year, Tampa Bay once again has the pitching advantage. The thing is, Tampa Bay had the pitching advantage with Rasmussen against Barrios. And I guess with Kikuchi and the relievers, I guess you could call it a wash, I guess, a mix, a tie, I guess you could say. But the opener pitched really well for Tampa Bay, and this Tampa Bay bullpen is beat up. So if McClanahan does get lit up, there's not really anybody to save Tampa Bay Rays here. I don't think that McClanahan gets lit up in this one, but I like the price for Toronto as an underdog once again. I back them both games this series, and I'm going to back them, continue to back them. Everybody was riding Tampa. I jumped off. Tampa's lost 2 in a row. I think they lose 3 in a row. This Toronto team is really hot right now. And in this game on Saturday, the top of the lineup was pretty much shut down, but it was the bottom guys that um, really came to play and got the Jays the win. So Jays have a ton of depth. This Tampa Bay Rays team is still a very good team, but I think Toronto sweeps them and gets the third win of this series in this one. Our next game, Baltimore Orioles and the Chicago White Sox. Baltimore plus 110 to plus 120. Chicago White Sox minus 130 to minus 140. 8.5s across the board here in this one. And I was on Baltimore. And unfortunately, back and forth game, but the White Sox ended up on top on Saturday night. Now we get a matchup here of Rodriguez against Cease. Rodriguez 0-0 with a 6.75 ERA. Uh, Cease 2-0 with a 1.65 ERA. I like the spot for the White Sox. I took my shot with Baltimore, but that was when it was kind of an even pitching matchup. The White Sox have the clear pitching matchup in this one, the pitching advantage, and I like them here in this spot. If we take a look at first five here, let's see. White Sox first five minus a half is plus money. So, what happened to my pencil? Let me write it down because I do forget. I like to add plays. Sometimes just talking it out. You talk plays out and you end up getting more plays. So I like to write it down so that I don't forget. Get better. I'm going to double up in this game. I'm going to take the White Sox first five minus a half as well in this one. I like the White Sox here. Our next game, Pittsburgh Pirates and St. Louis Cardinals. Pittsburgh plus 145 to plus 160. St. Louis minus 170 to minus 185. 8.5s and 8s in this one. I was on the over 8.5 in this matchup, and it got to 9. So I was super happy with that. But in this one here, I'm not going with the total. Um, Again, I'm doubling up, and I'm taking the dog here, the Pittsburgh Pirates, with Keller on the mound against Mikolas for St. Louis. St. Louis is too big a favorite in this one. I do not like what I've seen from Mikolas all three starts. And this Pittsburgh team somehow is playing really well this year, and they have the better record than St. Louis. And I definitely did not expect Pittsburgh to be a better team than St. Louis. But again, it is early on in the season. But from what we've seen so far, Pittsburgh is the better team. I think they have the better pitcher on the mound, and they're a huge dog. So give me Pittsburgh first five. You can get the plus a half for around minus 108, minus 105 to minus 110. I love that price. And then give me the full game money line at around plus 160. I think that is also a great price. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates are a live dog on Sunday. Our next matchup here, the Chicago Cubs and LA Dodgers. Cubs plus 180 to plus 205. Dodgers minus 218 to minus 250. 8.5s across the board in this one. Currently, last time I checked, this game was 0-0 in the third. Unfortunately, my best bet was the over for Saturday's show. And I'm shocked that those two pitchers have kept this game scoreless for Saturday night. Now, this will be a new matchup, obviously, Sunday, with Smiley on the mound for the Cubs. Luis Arias on the mound for the Dodgers. He is 3-0 with a 1.50 ERA and has continued his elite play from last year. And I think he's the Dodgers ace. I think he's their best pitcher. Smiley is not the Cubs' best pitcher. And I think there's a pitching mismatch here in this one. And I like the Dodgers. You can get them on the run line for plus money there. DraftKings, minus 110 to minus 120 in other spots. But I like the Dodgers on the run line. Money line, I think, is a good parlay piece. If you wanted to parlay the Dodgers money line with something else, I do like the Dodgers to get the job done, and I like them to win by multiple runs in this game here. Our next game, and then I'll get to a quick rundown of the rest of the slate and why I passed, and let you know which game is my exclusive play of the day. Milwaukee plus 145 to plus 160. San Diego at minus 170 to minus 185. 7.5s and 8s in this one here. I took a shot with Milwaukee as a dog on Saturday night. It didn't work out for me. Um, it was close for most of the game. I think there until the I think it was the seventh or eighth inning. Um, San Diego took over. Now we'll have Miley on the mound against Darvish for the Padres. Here, both teams hit well. Milwaukee ninth against righties. Milwaukee fourth against righties. Padres are ninth against lefties. So it would be a lean with the over 7.5 here. But I'm going to take this Brewers team again at plus 150, plus 160. I think San Diego's just too big of a favorite in this one. Um, I won't be surprised if they end up squeaking out the win, but this is a price play for me. I think Milwaukee is just too big of an underdog in this one. I think the Padres are overpriced, and therefore I'm taking the Milwaukee Brewers in this matchup. Let me get this here. Here, San Francisco and Detroit, which is the first game of the day. Webb against Boyd. San Francisco, the 30th team against lefties. Detroit, the 28th ranked team against righties. I don't know what happens in this game. Honestly, it would be a lean with the Detroit Tigers, just because I the Giants are not a team I'm going to be laying minus 140 with on the road. I think um, I think this is a Tigers or nothing spot, and I'm not ready. I'm not ready to bet the Tigers to win 3 games in a row as they're on a 2-game winning streak. I'm not sure that happens. So ultimately, it ends up being a pass for me. We talked about Minnesota and New York Yankees, LA Angels, Boston, Detmers against Whitlock in this game. And this game is hard for me. I think the Angels, I'm kind of attracted towards them here at the plus price, but they burnt me lately. And this Angels team, they're they're the same team they've been for years, a few years now. 2 star players, and the rest of the team just disappears. And I can't back a team like that. I can't trust them. I can trust those 2 star players, but I can't trust everybody else. And it's a team game. So ultimately, this game's a pass. Um, it would be a lean with the Angels, but as I said, I can't trust them right now. So ultimately, a pass. Cleveland Guardians and Washington Nationals here. Bieber against Corbin. Obviously, a huge pitching mismatch here for the Guardians, with Bieber against Corbin for the Nationals. Cleveland, the 16th ranked team against lefties this year, which is an improvement over last year. They were one of the worst, along with Oakland and Miami, one of the worst lefty hitting teams. They've improved on that this year, but as you can see, you got to take minus 2.5 at plus 110. If you end up taking minus 1.5, it's really pricey, out of my price range. So ultimately, here, um, this game's a pass. I mentioned earlier, I think the LA Dodgers money line is a good parlay piece. I think if you parlay the Dodgers with Cleveland, I think that's a good 2-teamer. It should be close to a plus money for those two, but those are 2 teams that I think really are going to win. So that would be my recommendation if you wanted a 2-team parlay. We went over Tampa Bay, Toronto, Philadelphia, Cincinnati. Nola against Sessa in this one. It's a lean with the over 9. 8.5 is minus 133, kind of out of my price range, but I don't want to take the 9. Um, if I was getting 8.5 at minus 110, this would be a play for me, 100%. But at 8.5 minus 133, I just can't get involved. I know some people might be thinking, well, it's only like a 20-cent difference, but it really matters. It really matters. Um, it really matters. And pulling the trigger or not, for me, anyways. Everyone's different. Arizona and Miami, Gallon against Alcantara. Uh, it's Gallon against Alcantara, so I should not be leaning towards an over. But getting a number of 7, um, neither one of those pitchers have looked like themselves from last year. Obviously, early on in the season, and this could definitely be this could be a 1-0 game where someone wins 1-0 in the ninth. But then that's why I'm off. That's why I'm off it. But I lean with the over, but ultimately not getting to the game. White Sox game, we went over. Atlanta Braves, Kansas City, right against Greinke in this one. I don't want to lay minus 150 with Kyle Wright. Greinke has been good at home last year, hasn't started off that way this year. Um, I don't want to back Kansas City, but I don't want to lay that price with Kyle Wright. So the game is ultimately a pass. For St. Louis, we went over. The New York Mets and the Oakland Athletics here. Um, Butto on the mound for the New York Mets, Sears on the mound for Oakland. And the Mets were another team that struggled against lefties last year, but so far ninth in MLB this year against lefties. So they have improved against lefties, but I'm not comfortable taking the Mets on the run line in this one. It would be a Mets money line in a parlay if I was getting involved in this game, but I ultimately am not. Cubs and Dodgers, we went over. Brewers and Padres, we went over. Colorado and Seattle. No pitcher announced for Colorado. Luis Castillo on the mound for Seattle. Um, it's a Seattle money line parlay piece for me. However, I'm not going to play it until I know who's on the mound for Colorado. It obviously still matters. It's a huge piece of information. So I need to know who's on the mound for Colorado, but it would be a lean with the. I was going to say the Kraken. It would be a lean with the Mariners on the money line. Um, Texas and Houston. That is my exclusive play of the day up on the site. You can get to my play in this game up on the site for $25. Use the code MLB at the checkout, and you can get 20% off of that. So if you want my play in Texas, in the Battle of Texas, you can get it up on Picks and Parlays in the description below. All right. Go before we get to best bets. I'll bring this screen back and it'll come out here just to get people's attention. Didn't end up getting to the NHL preview show today. See if I end up getting to it tomorrow. If not, I apologize, but I will go over on Monday my thoughts for each playoff game, of course, and then I'll briefly touch on the series that I like in the NHL. So, still NHL content coming forward. I know there hasn't been the last few days, but there hasn't really been NHL other than the last 2 days of the season, which I really didn't bet. So, definitely we'll have playoff picks coming. Let's stay tuned for that. But going to the best bet segment, and I've lost. Well, I technically haven't lost the Dodgers game yet, but it didn't look good last time I checked. But I jumped off backing the Jays as my best bet. Maybe because it was Tampa Bay, but I'm jumping right back on them here, and I don't need a player to get a hit with the Jays. I'm getting the Jays at plus 102. I think they sweep Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is going to beat up on bad teams, but when they play a good team, and you know what? I know I'm a fan of Toronto, but honestly, I think the Blue Jays are a better team. It comes down to pitching. But as we've seen, the first two games of the series with Toronto's fourth and fifth pitchers, they pitched pretty well. Now we get a pitching matchup between Manoah and McClanahan. Give me the Jays to finish out on top and complete the sweep here. That is the show. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the content, smash the like button. Appreciate all the support. If you want to put your best bet in, put it in the comment section of the video. And join us Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern for the live show. Join us in the chat, and it would be awesome to have you. But best of luck to everybody on your bets on this Sunday. Let's all make some money, and I'll see you again Monday, Monday, for Getting Wild and Flying High, free NHL and MLB picks. Best of luck, everybody.